Listen, we've literally all been there, right? You land that first real job, or you get that promotion you've been grinding for. Suddenly, there's more money hitting your account than ever before. And you tell yourself, okay, now I can finally breathe. Now I can upgrade a few things. So you move into a slightly nicer apartment. You start eating out more. Maybe you finance a car that's a little above what you'd normally spend. And honestly, it feels earned. It feels good. But then, 6 months later, you look at your bank account, and the math just doesn't add up. You're making more money than you ever have, and yet somehow you feel just as broke as before. If you're nodding your head right now, take a deep breath, because this isn't a personal failure. This exact pattern has played out across every single generation since money was invented. It's called lifestyle inflation. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, why your brain is wired to fall for it, and the 3-step system to stop it forever. What lifestyle inflation actually is. Okay, let's start with a really clean definition, because once you can name this thing, you start seeing it everywhere. At its core, lifestyle inflation is incredibly simple. Your spending rises in lockstep with your income. You earn more, so you spend more. Not on anything wild or reckless, just on upgrades. A slightly better version of what you already had. And that's what makes it so invisible. Think about it this way. When you were making $35,000 a year, you ordered a regular coffee. At $60,000, you started grabbing a latte. At $90,000, you don't even look at the price. It's just a coffee. Each individual upgrade is tiny. $10 here, $50 there. But they stack. And over a decade, those tiny upgrades silently consume the raises you worked so hard to earn. This isn't just a young person thing, by the way. Every generation falls into this trap. Your parents' generation did it. Your grandparents' generation did it. And if you're not paying attention, you're doing it right now. Why every generation falls for it. So here's where it gets interesting. Because if lifestyle inflation is so obviously a problem, why does everyone do it? There are really 3 things at play here, and none of them are your fault. First, there's what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. It's a fancy term for a painfully simple idea. Humans adapt to pleasure incredibly fast. When you first upgrade your apartment, it feels amazing for about 2 months. Then it just becomes your apartment. The excitement fades. So your brain starts looking for the next upgrade. And the next, you're literally running on a treadmill, moving fast, burning energy, but never actually getting anywhere. Second, there's social comparison. And guys, social media has turned this into an absolute monster. You're not just comparing yourself to your neighbors anymore. You're comparing yourself to thousands of curated highlight reels every single day. And when you see people in your income bracket taking nicer vacations or driving nicer cars, your brain whispers, you deserve that too. And third, and this is the one nobody talks about, there's identity drift. When you start making real money, your self-image changes. You stop feeling like someone who's trying to build wealth and start feeling like someone who's arrived. And when your identity shifts, your spending follows. Not because you're bad with money, but because you genuinely believe you've earned the upgrade. The problem isn't the upgrade itself. The problem is that these upgrades, when they happen unconsciously, lock you into a lifestyle that leaves zero room for actually building wealth. The math you've never seen. Let me show you something that genuinely shocked me when I first saw the numbers. Imagine 2 people. Both start at $50,000 a year. Both get a 5% raise every single year, which is a pretty realistic career trajectory. Let's call them Alex and Jordan. Alex lets lifestyle inflation run on autopilot. Every raise gets absorbed into slightly better restaurants, a slightly nicer car lease, a slightly bigger apartment. After 15 years, Alex is making around $104,000, which sounds great. But Alex's savings rate hasn't budged. It's still basically zero. Jordan does one thing differently. Jordan caps their lifestyle at their original $50,000 level and saves every single dollar from every single raise. Same career, same raises, same 15 years. Jordan is also making $104,000. But Jordan has been saving roughly $25,000 to $35,000 a year, every year, for more than a decade. The difference after 15 years? Jordan is sitting on well over $500,000 in investments, just from raises alone. Alex has a nicer car. This is not about deprivation. It's about a single decision made early that compounds for the rest of your life. The 3-step fix. All right, So now you know the problem. Let's talk about what you actually do about it. Because this is not one of those just spend less lectures that leaves you feeling guilty and then you ignore it 2 days later. Step 1. Find your stability number. This is the single most important number in your financial life, and almost nobody has it. Your stability number is the amount of money you actually need to live a good, comfortable, happy life. Not a minimum survival budget, not a deprivation plan. Just enough. Enough for a decent apartment, enough for groceries you enjoy, enough for a reasonable social life. Figure out that number and write it down. For most people in a mid-sized city, it's somewhere between $35,000 and $55,000 a year. Step 2. The 50% rule. Every single time you get a raise, whether it's 3% or 30%, you save at least half of it. Immediately, before it ever touches your checking account. Set up an automatic transfer that fires the same day your paycheck hits. You still get to enjoy the other half. You still get lifestyle upgrades. But you're capping your lifestyle inflation at 50 cents on the dollar. This one rule, consistently applied, is genuinely the difference between working until you're 65 and working because you want to. Step 3. The annual lifestyle audit. Once a year, pick a date, put it in your calendar right now. You go through your last 3 months of spending and you ask one question. Am I happier because of this? Not do I use this. Am I actually happier? You'll be stunned how many subscriptions, memberships, and upgrades fail this test. Cancel them. Redirect the money into your investment account and move on. No guilt, just clarity. The generational pattern. Here's what I think is actually wild about all of this. Go back and look at financial history, and you'll see the exact same story play out every single generation. In the 1950s, it was the post-war boom. People suddenly had disposable income their parents never dreamed of, and they spent it on cars, appliances, bigger houses. Many of them reached retirement age and realized they'd spent 40 years of raises and had almost nothing invested. In the 1980s and 90s, it was credit cards. Suddenly, affording something didn't mean having the money. It meant being able to make the minimum payment. That generation learned the hard way that a 19% interest rate doesn't care about your lifestyle. And today, it's subscription everything. Streaming services, delivery apps, buy now pay later, SaaS tools, premium memberships. We're the first generation paying $200 to $400 a month just in recurring subscription fees, many of which we literally forget we have. The mechanism changes. The outcome doesn't. Every generation thinks they're different. Every generation learns the same lesson the hard way. You don't have to. So here's the bottom line. Lifestyle inflation isn't a math problem. It's an awareness problem. The money is there. The raises are real. The question is whether you're in control of where they go, or whether your brain's default programming is making that decision for you. Find your stability number. Apply the 50% rule to every raise. Run your annual lifestyle audit. That's it. 3 steps, and you've permanently broken a cycle that has trapped every single generation before you. I want to hear from you. What's one upgrade you made in the last year that you'd happily give back if you got the money instead? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And honestly, these conversations are the best part of making these videos. Your future self will thank you for the systems you build today. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next one.